everyone, this evening. Welcome back to the Undercovers Podcast. I am Connor, otherwise known as That Florida Guy 5, with my talented co hosts, Paul and Ben. And we are here tonight to continue the series that we had started last week, which we ranked our top 10 quarterbacks in the National Football League. Now, we didn't finish. I think it's because I decided to break everybody's brain. And I believe now we are going to get into our top five quarterbacks in the
Yep.
meat of the show, which I think that when you look at it from the perspective that I will be looking at it from, you will understand why my choice is what it is. And to start the show, I think we've got a few little quick takes
Yeah,
and
let's
maybe a
get
fun little
into
trivia.
our quick takes for tonight. Starting off kind of with a bang, I would say. So, quick take number one, I believe, is which head coach is under the most pressure this season? Is that correct?
Yep.
So I'll go off and I'll give you guys two coaches that I think are under the most pressure. Not
Oh,
including Sean McDermott. Even though I would like him to be, I don't think he's
why?
under as much pressure as I would like him to be. But that's neither here nor there. But my two selections are first Matt Eberflus. I think he kind of got himself a little bit of a get out of jail free card. Um, just by the selection of the rookie quarterback, and second Dennis Allen. Quite frankly,
Goodness,
I thought
Allen. Yep.
Dennis Allen was gonna get fired last year, but they're gonna do the whole run it back with Derek Carr and a couple. They didn't really make a lot of changes in the offseason. They're more or
Nope.
less doing just like let's run it back, minus Michael Thomas because apparently he's a headache and he also can't stay on the field. So
Mhm,
they added a little bit of use. I like the Talise Fuanga pick and the
mhm.
Kool-Aid McKinstry. So they did add some talent, but I don't know if that's enough to bring him over the top. And I think they'll only go as far as Derek Carr will take them. And
Mhm.
spoiler alert, I don't think it's going to be more than 7 or 8 wins. So Dennis Allen is another one that I think is really under a lot of pressure to win this
Mhm.
season. And if
Yeah.
things aren't working out, they could turn to Spencer Rattler.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I forgot they actually drafted
Okay.
Spencer Radler. Yeah. I mean, I could see it. It's like I had said this once. I believe it was either no, actually, it was on my own live show. Um I actually thought the Saints as a whole might be a little bit of a question mark this season because I believe they went 7-10 last season. I
7-10 or 8-9. I can look it up
Yeah,
quickly.
it was either 7-10 or 8-9 in a very kind of middling division, and we're in it to the very end. I think that, I don't know if the improvements they made in the draft will really be that much more
Oh,
to get
I
them
guess they
going.
won 9 games last year. That's more than
Oh,
I
that's
thought they
right.
did.
They went 9-8. Right,
Yeah,
right.
they really
They
must have
tied
squeaked out the last couple of games
they
then.
tied with the Buccaneers for the division, but the Buccaneers had the
The
tiebreaker, I
tiebreaker,
believe, due
right,
to
okay.
yeah, I believe it was due to the I don't remember if the tiebreaker was because of the split. If you have
Or
the
divisional
record by
record.
team, yeah.
It just says both 9 and 8. I don't know what the divisional
Okay.
record is off
Well,
the top.
anyway, well, anyway,
But either way, they had some type of tiebreaker.
yeah, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I think that the Saints are a big question mark this season. And as for improving, we'll see if any of their draft picks hit, and we'll see mostly if Derek Carr returns to Derek Carr, like those of us that have been around football a while knew.
Right.
Uh, yeah, we knew Derek Carr very, very well in 2016. He was an MVP candidate before the injury. I know it's a little hard to believe hearing Derek Carr as
An
an
MVP
MVP
in the
candidate
same
into some,
sentence, yeah.
yeah, to people that haven't watched football and didn't see his 2016 season. But man, he was cooking. Like Derek Carr was cooking. If he
But
could,
Amari Cooper was also on another level that season.
that's just Amari Cooper though. That was prime
Yeah.
time Amari Cooper. Um, but anyway,
Do you
Paul, I'll
have
let
any
you.
other coaches Connor to throw into the equation that are under pressure?
I do, but I want to let Paul go second.
I'm gonna say this coach comes out of the AFC North. I'm gonna say Kevin Stefanski.
What?
Really? After winning his
What?
second coach of the year last year? That's surprising.
Yeah, no, that is very surprising. Defend yourself.
I want to defend myself here for a second. I mean, this is his fourth season. This is going to be his fifth season as head coach of the, Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns went out and they spent big on a quarterback, and with Deshaun Watson, who for some reason in many people's mind could turn into a top 10, turn back into a top 10 quarterback in the league. That's still yet to be known. You know Expectations wise, they lost in the divisional round in his first season in 2020. Then he had two losing seasons in 21 and 22, and then he bounced back last year and they lost in the wild card game. Then they lost in the wild card game to the Houston Texans.
Ugh.
So
They're going to
Go
have
ahead.
to. I feel like it feels like, even though he won the coach of the year, it feels like they're trying to hold Kevin Stefanski to a little higher level. Let's go past the wild card game. Let's get to the championship
I
game
mean,
because
he did go past the wild card game his first year.
true.
Ha 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 ha! Don't give me that PTSD. Stop it. All right.
But
Okay,
here's the
but
thing, too,
Kevin
real quick.
Stefanski.
Like, I get it. Like, yeah, you could say, oh, Watson is underperforming, but isn't that also a little bit on the
Sucks.
GM that went out and
That is-
made that trade? Like, I would put that more on Andrew Berry. And even without Watson, they had like 4 quarterbacks start games, and
Mhm.
he got Joe Flacco, the comeback player of the year. So, if anything, I'd say that's a credit to Kevin Stefanski. And if things don't go as well as they, you know, hope, I think if that's on Watson, I think you got to at least give Stefanski the benefit of a doubt of another quarterback, because he's shown he could win with not one. Last year was 4 quarterbacks, but even his first year, he had Baker. So every year he's basically had a different quarterback and proven he's been able to make the playoffs, which is
Oh
kind of
yeah.
hard to do. Like, I get it. He did have a couple bad seasons, but if you look at the context, Baker Mayfield tore up his shoulder, and they were rolling out Case Keenum and a very injured
Mhm.
Baker, and they still nearly backed into the playoffs. I think they maybe ended up 8-9 that year or something like that. That was a game Baker Mayfield threw 5 interceptions on Christmas. Then last year, Watson was suspended for 11 games. So it's hard to win.
Not enough.
Yeah, it's hard to win when your starting quarterbacks is down for 11 games. And I think he's kind of adapted and proven to it. So I just don't really get how he could be under the most pressure. Like, if they don't win, I think he still gets another year because of his
Mhm.
coach of the years that he's won. And
Oh
if you
yeah.
think about it, Cleveland, they've kind of been looking for a football coach for how many years? Like, how many football coaches did they go through?
Their entire
si-
modern era,
Yeah, probably about
along with
15 at least,
quarterbacks.
right?
Along with quarterbacks. I mean, they have been. It's not been a fun time to be a fan of a Cleveland football team. Let's be completely honest. But at least now, the minute they got likable with Baker Mayfield and Kevin Stefanski, the franchise ruined it. Which is
But I
so
think you got to
Browns.
blame
Browns
that
is the Browns.
on Jimmy Haslam and
Yeah,
management.
no, that's literally who to blame for the statement the Browns is the Browns. Juju Smith-Schuster was right all along. The nameless gray faces have always been the nameless gray faces, but at least they've got a coach now that isn't a complete disaster.
So let's hear your most pressured coach, so we can get to our next quick take real quick.
All right, yeah, for sure, for sure. I feel like the one that I've got for you guys is probably a little, what's the word I'm looking for here? Obvious to all of
Okay.
us, but I figure I might as well be the one to make the obvious, to say the obvious, because I'll wind up breaking your brains later. My choice right now for a coach under the most pressure out of anybody is Robert Saleh. Look at
Ooh,
the
I almost said that, by the way. That was one I was thinking. I like that pick.
Robert Saleh. I mean, you've got basically 1 to 2 more years left of Aaron Rodgers in New York. Wait, I'm sorry, New Jersey. And you've got a solid defense, one of the best defenses in the league as a whole. You've got Brees Hall, a very talented running back. You've got Garrett Wilson, a very talented wide receiver. And you've got Aaron Rodgers, who they're trotting out there like the Pittsburgh Steelers trotted out Ben Roethlisberger in his final few years. So at the end of the day, um, you better win, and I mean you better make the playoffs.
Mhm.
Last year, okay, whatever. You kind of you got injured. Okay, you had Zach Wilson starting games. That no, I mean the only people in danger when Zach Wilson starts games are his teammates' mothers. But uh, anyway, that's not the point. The point is that they still managed to go 7-10 last season with a litany of quarterbacks starting in place of Aaron Rodgers, and that was also including that absolutely hilarious 99-yard pick six against the that Trevor Simeon threw against the Dolphins. So,
Wasn't it Tim Boyle?
or it was one of them. See, they started so many quarterbacks
I think
that you
Simeon
just
did end up starting after, though.
but anyway, if you have a full healthy year of Robert Saleh and you don't contend for the playoffs, you got to get rid of him, and you got to try to find a way to get a better coach. Because while you have Aaron Rodgers, your window for contention is open. The minute he leaves, you are back to the cellar. So I'm going to end the take with that. And yeah, Robert Saleh definitely under the most pressure in terms of coaches on the AFC side.
All right, I like it. So now let's get into our next quick take, which is, I believe
It's which NFL team will exceed expectations in 2024?
All right, you know
ooh,
what? You know what?
you want to start
For
with this one,
clarity,
Connor?
no, actually, I was about to say, for sake of clarity, no one say the Buffalo Bills because that's the obvious choice for all three of us. Don't say the Bills.
No, I wasn't.
All right, Ben, start. Not the Bills.
So there's a couple teams I kind of want to say, but it's kind of hard to really pinpoint them right now. So I'll go with one. It might be an easy and a cop out answer, but I really don't think there's any way they can't exceed expectations, and that's the Carolina Panthers. Like, they
Oh
can't
my
be any
God.
worse than last year, right?
No,
Right?
no.
Like, they
I
went
mean,
out and
you can
spent
only hope.
money. They had a decent draft. I think they got a decent young head coach. So, right, you can only hope that they're not worse than last year. But I mean, I think they can maybe win 5 to 7 games and have an okay season. I mean, they'll
Let's
play
see
a
their
last
schedule.
place schedule, so we'll see
Yeah.
what
Oh
young
man,
Bryce Young can do. No pun intended, but
they play the Chiefs in Week 12.
yeah,
That'll
good night
be
for them. But
yeah, that'll be a game to put on the
I mean,
tank fold.
maybe they can steal a win from the Saints or Falcons.
As long as it's from
Whatever
the Saints
last
or
place teams
Falcons.
they'll face. I think
Mhm.
we'll play Washington. Maybe they could beat Washington because Washington's
Oh
kind of
yeah.
rebuilding. They play Chicago. They play.
Yep.
I almost said Arizona, honestly, and that's a team that you look at some of their
They do.
pieces, like they
Yeah,
could
they
actually
do.
make a wild card spot, honestly. But
It's Arizona. That's not going to happen.
let's hear who you have, Paul, for your team for expectations.
Hold on, I have to interrupt him really quick with some interesting breaking news regarding the Buffalo Sabres to break his heart again.
Oh, come on, don't break.
Zimgus Girgensons left the Sabres and has signed a 3-year deal with my Tampa Bay Lightning.
With the Lightning? Interesting. But
Yeah, with the Lightning.
I mean, it's been a rough day for Sabres fans, and just very, very rough day. But
Yeah, it's a rough day for us
Is
Lightning
that an
fans too.
interior crocodile alligator signing or no?
No, I don't. Nothing will compare to Stamkos. Stamkos should have stayed. But anyway, please continue,
not
Paul.
too worried about Zemgus Girgensons leaving after the bottom 6 editions.
And
That's
then
the
he'll
only
become
thing
the
we can
next
do.
Stamkos. No, I'm kidding.
Please,
He'll
please.
become the next ex Saber to lift the cup.
That'd be great, please, with the Lightning, please. But anyway, Paul, please continue. I don't want to derail this too much with Tampa Bay Lightning propaganda.
I mean, we can go on with hockey talk, but I'm good. I need some football in my veins right now after a rough day.
Yeah.
You know, do I necessarily think this team that I think could surprise a couple of teams, and be a surprise team? Yeah. I think the expectations that I have in mind for this team from the national media is probably low. But I think the Tennessee Titans could possibly
Blech.
be a surprise team this season. And
I'll be honest, I thought about picking them as well.
A surprise team for what? The dumpster?
No.
No.
I like where he's going with
I
this.
think
I
they could
like
squeak
Tennessee
out
too.
9 wins, maybe 10, and be that team that could
Maybe they steal the
a
7th
playoff
seed.
spot away or eliminate a team from playoff contention.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Connor, who's your surprise team?
Well, I don't really know if it's going to be a surprise, really, but I'll make this as quickly as possible because I actually have two, and I want to be able to get them both in. So my first surprise team is kind of the obvious for both of you that know me and the Bills fans that really, really know my love for this team and the fact that I feel like people are underrating them heavily going into next season, and that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They only got better as a team, and that's specifically at the most important position at quarterback. I know Russell Wilson's got. Don't you thumbs down me?
Overrated teams, I would agree with you, but
yeah, they're
everyone's
just
talking
slightly
up
overrated.
Steelers. Come
I'm
on,
not
everyone's like, "Oh, look at the quarterback upgrade.
I'm
Look
not
at all
talking
this."
about the Houston
Mm.
Texans.
And
I'm
that,
talking about
I've heard the Steelers propaganda all offseason for the second year in a row. And yes, last year they may have
they went
backed
10-7 with Kenny
they
Pickett.
may
I
have
want
backed
you to
into the
know.
playoffs,
They
but
did not
they were
back
like
in.
it. They did.
No.
They
They
were
did not
like
back
an
in.
ant, and the Bills were like a boot. And
Well,
that
we
was
all knew
that.
the Bills were going to wreck
Well,
them. I mean,
right,
we
like
all knew that.
they were an afterthought in the AFC playoff picture. And now second off
Accurate.
season in a row, I'm hearing the Steelers propaganda, and for the second off season in a row, I'm not buying it. Like,
Okay, well,
Me
you don't have
neither.
to buy it, but
everyone's
y'all
gonna
can
keep singing it, but I'm
y'all
not gonna
can
be
call me
listening
crazy.
it.
Mm-mm.
Y'all call me crazy
You're
when
crazy.
they
The
do something.
Steelers.
You're crazy.
Yeah, y'all call me crazy all you want, but this is coming from somebody that just said Kevin Stefanski should be on the hot seat. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
watching you.
I
I'm watching
wasn't
you,
prepared
Paul.
for that
Not-
question.
I'm
I'm going to be honest.
Not
watching you.
everyone has, everyone misses once in a while, but
I'm
what's
watching you, Paul.
what's the Steelers' grand plan? Have Justin Fields run back 20 kickoffs for
Yes.
touchdowns?
Yes, the Steeler BS is real. The Steelers are going to the Super Bowl, but no, they're
All
not.
on the legs
Yeah,
of Justin
Mike Tomlin's going
Fields.
to have his first losing
All right,
season
let's
this
hear
year.
your other
Okay,
one real quick
next
so we
one.
can get to our Bills
Okay.
topic.
Wow. All right. Yeah, that's not going to happen, Paul. But next one I think is actually another fairly interesting one, and that is going to be. I feel like everybody watched the Green Bay Packers last season and Jordan Love absolutely ball out, and all of a sudden really got to loving the Green Bay Packers' chances to win the NFC North next season. When I'm like, wait a minute, did we all forget the Detroit Lions still exist? I feel like the Lions as a team actually did improve. Now I know they had 12 wins last year,
Mhm.
but I took a look at their schedule again. I actually think it might be possible,
Don't they play like 14 games in a dome or something this season or something crazy like that?
it's something wild like that.
And
Yeah, but
they literally are a dome team. Like they're built for
Mhm.
that.
I got a good feeling about the Lions to maybe do some crazy things that nobody really expected with how
Super
much
Bowl?
better they've gotten.
Is that
I
what you're picking? Lions in the Super Bowl?
I'd
Because
love to have the Lions in the Super Bowl
that's
against.
really the only way they could
Mhm.
really, I think,
Yep.
exceed
I mean, I'd
expectations
love
from
it.
last year. Because I think everyone's really penciling them in back where they were.
Yeah.
But let's get
Mhm.
to our Bills
Hey,
topic.
I'd love them in the Super Bowl against the Bills, but then I'd have to root for the Bills.
So we're gonna get to our Bills topic, and Paul, I guess you're the host for this one, so we can get into it.
Mhm.
Sure. What is the perfect 2024 season look like for Josh Allen? We know Josh
MVP,
Allen's good. Okay. That's just, that's perfect season.
Super Bowl, and
Super Bowl.
MVP.
Oh
First
yeah,
team All
totally.
Pro. I mean, I guess you could really say the sky's the limit. But if you really want to say perfect, I think it would probably be a Super Bowl or a MVP season, because I think that's the ultimate goal as far as the
Mm-hmm.
Josh Allen really accomplishing, you know, everything he's needed to besides those two things. So
Hmm.
for him, I think that's really probably the end goal is get that Super Bowl, get that MVP. I mean, he could also, sharpen up, tighten up his interceptions a little bit, maybe sharpen up his stats, maybe break some more records that he hasn't broken yet. But I mean, he's already broken quite a bit of records. But I think it's just as far as a perfect season entails for him, I think it would probably just be a Super Bowl, because
Hmm.
that's the one thing he really does not have that his career needs. And
Hmm.
if he gets a Super Bowl, he's definitely a lock for the Hall of Fame. I mean, right now he's knocking on the door. But
Hmm.
then, you just put him right there for Buffalo sports legend status, number
Hmm.
one,
Oh yeah.
immediately
Absolutely.
once he wins that Super Bowl,
Oh yeah. It
because
would
he
be
will
number
do
one too.
something that no Buffalo athlete has ever done in like 110 combined years of playing. So, or 120, whatever, because I think the Bills are almost 70. The Sabres are probably 50, right? So
Yeah, they're a little over 50.
yeah, so yeah, it's getting rough here for us Buffalo fans, but if he gets that definitely cements him as,
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
legend status all time.
Hmm. But hey, it's this season. Trust. But I really just have to agree with everything that was said, solely because Josh Allen has done and accomplished everything in the league that you can accomplish for a quarterback of his status at this point, except win a league MVP,
And win the
except
title.
win a
Yeah.
Super Bowl and not and win a Super Bowl MVP, which I really think that, that would be the ultimate goal for Josh Allen's career. But obviously, we have to make sure that we are looking at expectations.
Mm-hmm.
It's still a very young team, especially on offense with a lot of new pieces. Keon Coleman, in particular, a higher workload for Dalton Kincaid, a higher workload for Khalil Shakir, and probably a higher workload for James Cook as well. And we have to consider, all the offensive pieces need to mesh in,
Right.
find a way to grow, but we need to also find a way to build chemistry within the team. And Josh Allen really is going to be the leader of this team. And I know he pretty much already established that, but this will really be the year for it. He will be that leader. I mean, yeah, you got Deion Dawkins and you got on the defensive side too, you got Ed Oliver,
Mm-hmm.
for all the leaders' sake. But at the end of the day, this really is Josh Allen's team as a whole.
Hmm.
I know I've said it before. My ultimate dream would be Bills in the Super Bowl, Bills win the Super Bowl, but Teron Johnson wins Super Bowl MVP off some wild pick six. But at
It's
the end of
gonna
the
be Josh Allen. Come on.
I mean,
Yeah,
either
come
or,
on.
I'd be very happy with it. But that's I just want to temper expectations, but the best teams in the NFL can be teams with no expectations. They can be the most dangerous.
Right.
But let's move on because we got a whole lot more left to cook.
Right.
I
So,
mean,
oh, you got something,
What?
Paul? Before
Yeah.
yeah,
we
I'm gonna
continue?
gonna wa- gonna give a quick take on this. I think
Uh-oh.
I think there's not much more to say because both of you guys said it really well, and I agree with every point you said. I just want to extend on Ben's point. The interception numbers. He hasn't had a season with single digit interceptions. I think you know if you get Josh Allen to single-digit
I
interceptions,
think
you're
he
probably
did
looking at
either
45 plus
2019 or
touchdowns.
2020. Let me just double check that. Yeah, 2019, 9 interceptions.
Goat.
So, well, since his rookie season, so
Second season.
Yeah,
second season.
Yeah, his rookie season he threw 12 interceptions.
8
His
touchdowns.
sophomore
Or 10
season,
10 touchdowns, right? 10 touchdowns, 12 picks.
10 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. Then in his sophomore season, he threw 20 touchdowns to 9 interceptions.
Mhm.
I just want that
So
2020
that's
Josh
where I
Allen back,
think
man.
a 2019
2020
Josh
was what, like
Allen's
37 to 10?
Oh yeah, it was 37 touchdowns to
And
hold
that's
on,
with
I just had it
him
to 10
sitting.
interceptions.
Yeah, that's with him sitting the second half of that Miami game, and Barkley threw
Mhm.
at least 1 or 2 more. So he almost could have had 40 passing touchdowns. Like, he's already had 40 total touchdowns 4 straight seasons, which no other quarterback has ever done. So I guess
Mhm.
we'll see. Maybe he does 40 passing touchdowns. Maybe he even does 50 total touchdowns, which I don't believe he's done yet in his career. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't
Oh,
believe he has 50 total touchdowns yet.
no.
But
no.
I actually think last season may have been one of his
Probably
highest
close.
single season touchdowns, because he had 44 last year.
Yeah, I
2020,
think so.
he
Mhm.
would have had maybe 46 or 47 if you count the rushing. No, maybe he only had 7 rushing, so maybe 44 as well. I don't know. I don't have the numbers right in front of me. But speaking of quarterbacks, let's just go right into our top 5
For
quarterbacks
real. This is where the fun begins.
from our top 10 list. And just to recap, if you haven't seen our 10 through 6 yet. So at 10 for me, I had Jordan Love, then Kirk Cousins, CJ Stroud, Brock Purdy, and then Matthew Stafford at 6. Do you want me
Brock
to
Purdy.
recap everyone else's, or do you know them from the top of your head?
I got him right here. We can just show them on the screen. And then mine was Love,
Sure.
Stroud, Herbert, Goff, and then
Stroud.
Connor
Yep.
went to
Tua.
Hurts, Lawrence.
A lot of love for Bama there, Connor.
Don't remind me.
You have
I will
anything?
vomit.
All right. Yeah, so let's pick up right where we left. And I don't think I was maybe a little controversial, but I don't think I was too controversial compared to at least Connor. But this might be a little bit of a hot take to start off, but I like to start
Uh-oh.
spicy. But Lamar is my 5th quarterback, and the
I love
reason
Lamar.
is I love Lamar too. Don't get me wrong; he's excellent, elite. 2 MVPs, which I'm not going to take anything away from him, but except from his playoff performances, and he's never had 4,000 passing yards in a season. So if he does both of those and he wins the Super Bowl, I'll move him up. But he can't really win in big games either, kind of similar to Allen. So I'm going to have to leave him at 5 just because if I'm starting a franchise, I would take the other 4 quarterbacks on my list ahead of him.
Oh, okay. Okay, so your 4th is Lamar Jackson.
5th.
Paul, go ahead. Next one.
My number 5 might be a little controversial, but maybe not. I have Jalen Hurts as number 5.
Why y'all gotta be this way? Why are y'all like this?
Jalen Hurts.
You gotta start
Okay.
off hot sometimes with the top 5.
I don't even have Jalen Hurts in my top 10, to be honest.
I mean, the tush push guy. That's all
You
he
had
is.
him in your top 10.
Yeah, because he does have some talent outside of the tush push.
No, he does. I mean, we saw it in that Bills game. He made some clutch throws. I know, we
He
didn't
did.
have our full defense in there, and Hyde and Poyer were just getting absolutely cooked by their receivers. And that's part of the reason we don't have Hyde and Poyer anymore, just because, how much of the liability is. But any more on Jalen Hurts, Paul?
Really just Jalen Hurts. I think he can take it the next step this season.
Okay.
And, people
he's
say,
got
well, the tush
Saquon.
push,
They made some
obviously.
additions.
Mm-hmm. I think he's definitely benefited, from the tush push, But other than outside of the tush push, he's a really good athlete. He's athletic. He can get outside the pocket, and I really think Jalen Hurts will take the next step this season. There's really nothing much to say about Jalen Hurts because of what I did with 6 through 10. I just feel like I think he's my fill-in guy here.
Okay.
But
I'll say one final thing before we get to Connor's 5. I did hear an Eagles fan make a great point on how
I think this is what I think I know where you're going with this.
well,
Say it.
Saquon Barkley is the best running back they've had since Shady McCoy. So they think he can really be a big-time difference maker, both in the passing and running game, and really open
For
things
sure.
up for them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was amazed when Saquon Barkley announced he was signing with the Eagles.
I think not enough
why the
people are
Eagles?
talking about that because
they're not.
the Cowboys, yes, they won the division, but the Cowboys did nothing, and the Eagles did a lot. And the Eagles, they had one of the worst secondaries last year, and you know what they did? Not only did they get Ennis Rakestraw, who I think they got in the first round, right? And then the second round, or did they get Terrion Mitchell? No, Mitchell went to Detroit. I think they got Rakestraw. But in the second round, they got Cooper DeJean.
Yeah, I was about to say. I was thinking of Cooper DeJean.
They have DeJean. And to be honest, Slay can still kind of play a little bit. It's just Bradbury more or less was the issue. And it'll be interesting to see how Devin White plays. But let's hear who your number 5 is, Connor.
All right. My number 5 is going to probably, if you understand the game of football, I don't really think this will shock you too much, considering that I feel like this quarterback has an absolute world of talent, but he's never been able to be put in a position to properly utilize any kind of talent. I mean, they drafted a receiver this year, but I wasn't too high on this receiver during the draft. And I'm pretty sure both of you know now that I just gave it away. My number 5 quarterback is none other than Justin Herbert. I really feel like
McConkey is going to be better than Harrison.
The Chargers and their 6 fans can say whatever they want, but I really, really do love Justin Herbert's talent. And every time I think about it, I go back to that game. I believe it was in 2021 when Justin Herbert led the Chargers to that massive
was that against the Raiders?
Against the Raiders, yeah, to get into or no, they didn't win that game, but Justin Herbert
they almost tied it. They went to overtime.
They did tie it. They went to overtime. Yeah,
and then their idiot coach called the timeout.
Yep. This is why Brandon Staley got fired. He should have been fired the minute he called the timeout, but that's neither here nor there. I actually really think with I think with the other Harbaugh at the helm, this team might actually be able to do something that we all don't expect. But
dethrone the Chiefs?
I would love that personally, but I'm not going to go that high. Let's not set the expectations that catastrophically high, because if they let us down, then we're never going to be able to forgive them. So
yeah, I bit into that Chargers hype last year, and it didn't go.
We're not doing that again. But to be fair, Herbert was injured, and Easton Stick started games for the Chargers, and that's never a recipe for success. I really, really love Justin Herbert's game. I think that Justin Herbert could be a top quarterback given give this man something to work with, some elite talent at the receiver position, and give him an offense that could cook. I really think that Justin Herbert could be in the discussion for great quarterbacks in the league. But anyway, we have more quarterbacks to get to, so move on. Ben, next, number 4, go.
Yeah, I actually agree with you a lot on Herbert. I like Herbert so much that he's my 4th quarterback, and a lot of the reasons you gave are why I would take him over Lamar, because I think he's a better thrower of the football, and he can really make any throw. And like you said, you've seen him put his team on his back. He really just lacked it as far as defenses, coaching, just availability of his players around him. So I agree. I think with the proper coaching and just give it time for Harbaugh to implement his system, he could really be up there with Mahomes and Allen as one of the top quarterbacks, not just the number 4.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We could finally put this stupid Tua Herbert debate to rest. But all right, so that was a nice segue for 4. All right, Paul, let's hear it. Let's go.
All right, my number 4.
Break our brains.
I don't think this is breaking your brains. I think this is a good spot for this quarterback. I'm gonna go Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow, when healthy, put the asterisk on that. When healthy, he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in this league. No doubt about it. I mean, in 2022, he backed up a really good season, from 2021, where he had career high in completion percentage, and the thing with Joe Burrow in that 2022 season, he was one of the most heaviest pressured quarterbacks in the NFL and still led his team to the Super Bowl. And, in that season, he was 63.3% against pressure, in that 2022 season. Even though he got hurt last year, he was 66.8% against pressure in 2023. So with all what Joe Burrow had to deal with in his poor offensive line, he still makes the Cincinnati Bengals one of the most threatening teams in the NFL right now. And, with Jamar Chase, the Jamar Chase connection is one of the best in the league. So you take that to the next step, and him being fully healthy, I mean, the Cincinnati Bengals are right back into that top 5 discussion.
I hate that it's with the Cincinnati Bengals, man. I hate this team. I hate everything about this team, and I can't stand that it's with the Bengals. I mean, maybe better that it's not with the Dolphins if they would have stuck to the plan of the tank, but still, why did it have to be the Bengals, man? Why couldn't it have been the Chargers?
So I'm interested to hear who's your 4th now, Connor.
Okay. So my number 4. And my number 4 is a bit of a playmaker. I like this guy for his playmaking ability. And I feel like I'm a lot higher on this particular quarterback than a lot of people are. And that quarterback is none other than Lamar Jackson. I really like.
Is my number 5.
I know. I actually had him. I have him above Herbert. I actually really, really like Lamar Jackson. I love how he's so shifty as a runner, right? Like it's awesome to watch him like break out of the pocket and then just juke some defenders and make them look silly. Like it's always beautiful to watch him do that to Bengals defenders and Browns defenders and Dolphins defenders like he did last season. Y'all remember last season when they played against the Dolphins where Lamar Jackson literally threw a right-handed pass that faked out that whole defense and contributed to that like 56-10 score or whatever it was at the end? Or it was some kind of crazy score at the end there. But yeah, I love Lamar Jackson. He's just an otherworldly talent. He just needs to get it together when the lights come on. Like that's his only drawback. Like get it together when the lights come on. But anyway, that's 4. Ben, 3.
So I'm actually gonna flip the table and turn everything upside down because I'm actually making a massive correction to my rankings. And
oh no,
I just said my number 3. Actually, it was Justin Herbert. I'm actually taking someone out of the top 5. And instead, what I'm doing is I'm going to move someone up a spot. So I think Jared Goff is a top 10 quarterback. So I'm going to put him as number 10 because just kind of thinking about it, Paul, you made up some great points for Burrow, but I think availability is your best ability. And if
Mhm.
I'm going to rank quarterbacks, I want to base it on quarterbacks that I saw last year that I know you could count on that are going to be good to go into next season. And as much as I want to rank Joe Burrow up high, I don't know if you could trust him because you've kind of seen a pattern with him. Go back and even look at his college career. He's gotten hurt year in and year out, similar to Tua. And that's why I won't rank Tua high. It's also because of injury concerns. And looking at my notes, I had Murray as number 10, but he also, I think, has some injury concerns. And until he makes the playoffs again, just look at Jared Goff's stats, and they're pretty impressive, especially if I didn't have Burrow as number 4. I had Herbert as number 4, by the way.
Okay.
Yep. But you can change that everything up until number 4 because I'm going to put Goff at number 10 and everything is staying the same because I'm just looking at it. And yes, Burrow is elite, but how much better is Burrow really than Goff? Actually, if you look at the numbers close, Goff's best seasons are actually better than Burrow's, and Goff has actually put up better numbers in the playoffs. He just haven't had the elite defenses to go with the offense. So it might be a hot take, but I think Goff is a top 10 quarterback. I'm going to bump Burrow out. So for me, I got Goff, Love, Cousins, Stroud, Purdy, Stafford, Lamar, and Herbert.
Is this the moment where we lose Ben to the Joe system allegations?
So
I may have already
what's
been
7
there.
through 4 again?
7 through 4, Purdy, Stafford, Lamar, Herbert.
Okay. So now who's number 3 for you? Because we stood at the new number 3.
Herbert's a new 3.
Justin Herbert.
It was number 4, but he just gets default. Everyone moves up a spot because I'm taking Burrow out right now. I'll put him at number 11, but he has to prove it to get back into the top 10. That might be a hot take, but
That is a hot take.
That's where I'm going to stand.
You're veering into the Joe system conversation now, Ben. And a lot of people wanted to say that because Jake Browning had a higher completion percentage than Joe Burrow did even before Burrow got injured.
Better EPA too.
Yeah, that's why everybody was joking about Joe's system. But anyway,
Paul, who's your
can
number
we get
3?
to number 3?
Yes, my number 3 is going to be. Just give me a second. It's going to be Lamar Jackson.
Hey,
I think Lamar Jackson, what he showed last season was his ability to pass. That was the one thing we were questioning Lamar Jackson entering last season. Was he able with the receivers that he had, could he give him the football and give him the football accurately? And Lamar Jackson's proved that. But what he also did, he took his team to the AFC Championship game. He got over the playoff struggles and he took his team where they were supposed to get, which was the AFC Championship game. And, with the rain at M&T Bank Stadium, they fell short. And that's something that will go against Lamar Jackson. And it's okay. He has this season to prove to get. What?
He was horrible in that game, by the way.
Yeah, he wasn't. He was bad in that game.
Shades of 2019 when he played a game at M&T Bank Stadium in the playoffs in the friggin' pouring rain.
Yeah.
Freaking Titans.
And that's the one thing. That's why he's not higher in my rankings. He could possibly be 2, but he's not because, he just didn't perform well in the AFC Championship game, and he just has to get his team back there again.
All right. Okay.
All right, Connor, let's hear you cook.
All right. You are ready to hear me cook? All right. So my number 3, I do not care what you just said about this man, Ben. Joe Burrow is my number 3 on the list. I literally do not care because Joe Burrow, when
He
he
was
plays,
mine, but I crossed him out.
I know you
It's
crossed him out.
when
Yeah.
he's always good when he plays, but that's
Oh,
always a big if with that guy.
it's not that big of an if. I mean, 2020,
Eh,
his rookie season,
50% of his season,
he had no
50% of
O-line.
his career.
He
I mean,
had
he had
no
to know.
O-line.
Okay, he had a better O-line last year, and what happened? It was a hit to the
That does happen.
wrist,
I mean, yeah, that does
and
happen to
we
quarterbacks.
don't know if his throwing strength will be the same and how effective he'll be post injury. So I don't know. I have some questions with Burrow. That's why I had him at 11, but I get it. I originally had him at 3, but just kind of thinking it over. Just I don't know. I have the injury concerns myself.
I feel like it's still warranted, but
I mean, I can easily move him back up to 3 if he starts playing well. Like, I'm fair. Like, no problem. Like, I get. I mean, I can easily see him being number 3. Like, that's where I had him. Like, if healthy, yes, I think he's far and away the third best.
I mean, all right, we'll do that. But this is where the real fun begins. Give us your number 2, Ben.
My number 2 is the GOAT, Josh Allen. Just kind of to expound upon what we said earlier, the things he's missing are that MVP and Super Bowl for him to be moved up to number 1. I know Mahomes has multiple MVPs and Super Bowls, but just because it's literally never been done in this team's franchise's history, I think if the Bills are to get a Super Bowl, even if Mahomes has a couple more, I think it's worth the argument to put him at number 1 just because Allen has done something just so hard since it's never happened in the Bills franchise history. So, but until and if you look at the head-to-head matchups in the playoffs, like Allen's actually outplayed him in both losses. It's just the defense hasn't been able to get the job done, and Andy Reid has outcoached McDermott. But I guess, spoiler alert, I'll just go ahead and go with my 1, too. Mahomes is 1, and just a very tiny gap, and that gap being the Super Bowl MVP. But once Allen gets there, the talent is there for him to be number 1. And I think just the fact that the Bills have never won it before, it's a very, I think, honest debate if the Bills win a Super Bowl for you to move them up there. But I can't put them there yet. But once the Bills win the Super Bowl, I might argue that he's number 1. And those are my top 10. I'll actually read them down again one more time just to recap. Mahomes, Allen, Herbert, Lamar, Stafford, Purdy, Stroud, Cousins, Love, and Goff.
Well,
right, so my number two and my number 1 are the exact the same as Ben's. Josh Allen and then Patrick Mahomes. I'm going to start with Josh Allen first because who doesn't like Josh Allen talk? Josh Allen should have been a multi winner of the MVP award. Just look back at look back at all of the seasons. Think this he should have an MVP to his name. But what makes Josh Allen special is he's one of the most clutch quarterbacks in the NFL.
He's also one of the most dynamic quarterbacks. Can I just add one stat, Paul? I don't know if it's the highest in NFL history, but it was the highest in the NFL last year. He had over 51% of his rushing attempts was converted for a first down. So he's one of the most efficient runners, I think, just in the league, period. And those are crazy numbers for a quarterback. So you look at the numbers. Yes, he may not have the average as Lamar per run, but his runs are efficient. Look at the touchdowns between him and Lamar. It's not even close, to be honest. Like the rushing touchdowns I'm talking about, not just passing. Allen has maybe 2 or 3 times more career rushing touchdowns than Lamar. Go ahead, Paul.
Since 2021, he has a passing grade of 86.2 in the fourth quarter or overtime. I mean,
Wow.
that's the best since 2021. And, he's consistently improving every season. Every season, you just see Josh Allen adding a new stat to the NFL history books or just a new
Yeah.
stat that he's constantly breaking. Josh Allen is either breaking records or he's setting records every single season. And I guess that's what you want out of your quarterback. And that we all in
Mhm.
Buffalo hope he's the one that will lead the Buffalo Bills to the first ever Super Bowl, and he will lead the Bills to their first ever Super Bowl. But add this to the stat list: how 4 straight 4,000-yard seasons. I mean, he can go for a fifth. I mean, he could possibly be a 5,000-yard passer this season, just if everyone goes off. And then there's Patrick Mahomes. I mean, 3-time Super Bowl champion. I mean, he's back-to-back Super Bowl champion. I mean, multi-time MVP.
He's
He has one of the
never
better
not
coaches.
played in an AFC championship game either.
Wild
I
to
know.
think about.
I mean,
Just crazy.
trajectory-wise, he could possibly turn into the next Brady, or even be better than Tom Brady. But we can have that
Do not bring
discussion.
that into
Yeah.
do not bring that into the universe, please,
We don't
Paul.
need that.
We
But
don't need
I would
Right.
another.
assume, Connor, your top two are the same.
My top two are indeed the same, but my top two are in the other order. I'm looking at this solely on a talent perspective. There is an easy debate to say that Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the NFL in terms of pure talent alone. I mean, you guys saw the
Okay.
jersey. You should have known it was coming at this point.
Right.
Let's just be completely honest. In terms of raw talent, like you watch his games and you just go, how on earth did he do that? You do that a whole lot more with Josh Allen than you do with Patrick Mahomes. Let's be completely honest. Yeah, you have those moments with Patrick Mahomes, but you look at some of the stuff that Josh Allen has been able to do, and you just go, "What on earth is this man? Is this man an alien?" When they had the alien scare in Miami, is that just because the ball saw Josh Allen? Like, that's the whole thing. Like,
Right.
look at and then I do want to bring this up too. It's not Josh Allen's fault he can't beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. His defense has let him down both times.
And
As a matter of
Stephon Diggs.
Well, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
and that guy, and that guy too. But no, that's exactly it. Josh Allen has actually outperformed Patrick Mahomes in the playoff games between them. But football is not a quarterback sport. This is a team sport. There is no I in team. Josh Allen has put up some incredible games in the playoffs. I mean, look at that Patriots game that he played in the playoffs where he literally played a perfect game. Like, look, just Josh Allen has the raw talent. And I actually discussed this a while back when I was talking on my own show about how he and Kyle Larson are the same type of athlete, how they're the best raw talent in their respective sports, but they just
Right.
also have these wild moments that make you go, "What on earth are you doing?" What quarterback really doesn't have those moments? I mean, look at some of the interceptions and horrible passes Mahomes has thrown too. So, at the end of the day, I think that Josh Allen is a better raw talent than Patrick Mahomes, but coaching plays a huge role in this, and Andy Reid is definitely one of the best coaches in the entire league right now. So, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
Nice. So that was a pretty fun exercise. And just I think just as we close, that was a really good point about the team sport, because if you think about it, football is really one of the hardest team sports just
Yeah.
because you have 11 different offensive and defensive players and then 11 different special teams players, and they all have a specific role. In other sports, you can kind of maybe, if you have deficiencies, you can gloss it over, but not really in football. But
Mhm.
that concludes our top 10 quarterbacks list. Training camp is, I think, still about 2 or 3 weeks away. So
It's
We will
about
have
3,
a
I believe.
preview of training camp as we get there, and hopefully we can get a Bills insider on there. But that should I think that should wrap everything up for tonight. So Connor and Paul, any other closing words?
Nothing really. I mean, just get CD Lamb on the Bills as soon as
Right?
possible.
Yes. We've heard the whole player wants to play with family discussion already. Very obscure reference, but we have heard it. So let's just make it a reality and get CD Lamb to Buffalo ASAP. There's a reason we got all this cap being stored away for
Right.
25. If it isn't now, then it's next year. Get CD Lamb to Buffalo.
That
I hope
being
CD
said,
Lamb is.
Will know.
You know what? I
If-
hope
He's-
CD Lamb is listening, or
let me
at least I hope Keon Coleman is listening. And
Sure.
Can somebody go at Keon Coleman on Twitter? That way he's aware that we made this. That way we're aware we want his cousin in Buffalo as well.
let me just say one thing as we wrap out. How hilarious would it be if Bean made a massive trade before Kevin Adams did and actually was like, let me show you how it's done. Right.
me
It's
show
free
you-
Yeah, let
agency
me show
start,
you how
and
it's
Kevin
done.
Adams is just sitting there with
Mhm.
his jaw dropped as Brandon Bean completely fleeces the Cowboys for Lamb. But let me dream, I guess. But
Yeah,
that
dream.
should
It's a great dream.
conclude tonight's episode. If you aren't subscribe to us on all of our platforms and follow us all on Twitter or X,
Mhm.
whatever you call it.
I'm
And
pretty sure it's
go
Twitter.
Bills.
Go Bills.
Well, Elon
Go
calls
Bills.
it X, but yes,
And
Go
big
Bills.
dubs.
big dubs.